Canucks versus the Bruins tonight as Jake DeBrusk returns home to the spot that he played hockey in since he was 18 years old. Looking forward to that matchup. And of course, the Utah Hockey Club are in Montreal to take on the Canadiens. That should be a good one. Both teams off a couple losses. They'll be desperate to get back on track. So as I mentioned, guys, yesterday on PuckTime, it's a really mixed bag schedule this week in the NHL. So Monday, a bunch of games. Tuesday, very rare, just 2 games. And Wednesday with a massive 15-game slate. We still wanted to give you guys some thoughts, though, on these 2 games. And with that being said, I will bring in Mr. Carmine Bianco. How are you, Carm?
I'm good, Andrew. Huge slate of action last night. Only a couple of games. It's the NHL. What do you expect? A huge amount of goals scored last night. I think every game except for the LA Kings game, where all the goals came in the third period for San Jose. Every single game, the first period over hit. It was pretty crazy the amount of goals that were scored last night in the NHL. But it's one of those, we talk about Freaky Friday. It was Maniac Monday. And I'm pretty happy because if you guys follow along with the Detroit Red Wings plus 135, they got the money in New York against the Islanders. A 1-2 night in the NHL, 2-1 night in the NFL for me. So pretty much a split overall, just under a unit for me yesterday. So we'll look for a good day today. We're going to talk, as you mentioned, Vancouver and Boston, Utah and Montreal. I'll mention the Utah, what happened to them in Toronto on Sunday, if anyone doesn't know, outside of what the final score was. Your props, the ladder challenge hits with Ottawa in regulation. And congratulations to you, because you had a 5% play on Ottawa team total, and that got there as well, too. So big congrats to you. The ladder challenge, we are going to pass today, just to let you guys know in advance. A bigger slate of games on Wednesday. Let's not push it. Let's get this. Let's get to the top of this ladder this time, and then we'll have our best bets and
Ooh.
close it out. It's $5 day, Andrew. $5 customer appreciation day over at WagerTalk. A bunch of cappers with some great deals. You can get packages for $5. One from every capper. Some great promos within that package as well too. So, and of course, let's not forget the Thanksgiving Day special that is going on right now. 7 days for $69. That's less than $10 a day. That is a great deal, and it's going to take you right through to next Monday. So pick up that deal over at WagerTalk. No coupon code needed, Andrew. All right. I've used up all my words. Boston Bruins minus 118, Vancouver Canucks plus 102, total 5.5, shaded to the under. Are you sticking with the coach's bounce here, Andrew? 2-0 for the Bruins since changing coaches. St. Louis changes the coach. Jim Montgomery gets a win with the Blues in New York with the Rangers. Are you riding that new coach bounce?
I have been with this particular team. I took 5% Bruins reg the first game against Utah, and then I think I had just like 1 or 2% the second game for them against Detroit in regulation. But this situation is a little bit different here, and I think you take a look at the Boston Bruins and you look at some of these situations, like even last night for St. Louis. I mean, the way that they came out, it was so energized. But different teams, the energy is going to bring different things. So, and I will just, in full transparency, just wanted to say yesterday on PuckTime, my best bet, it was a miss with the under in the St. Louis game. I went on WagerTalk today, gave out the plus 1.5, and that one cashes in. So kind of a 1-in-1 bag on that one. But these coaching firings can kind of do 2 things, right? They can energize a team offensively, or they can energize a team defensively. And the thing is about this Boston Bruins team, so far, since they fired Jim Montgomery, they've outscored their opponents 2-1. Now, if you ask yourselves, in this day in the NHL, with how many goals there were scored on Monday night, should be a real good example of what the new normal is in the NHL. Is that enough to win a hockey game? Are those types of wins going to be enough to win games? And the short answer, I think Carm is no. You can't be scoring goals with winning games with that few of goals consistently. And you've got a Vancouver Canucks team right now that have been road warriors. This team has been much better on the road than they have been at home on a large scale right now. And when I look at some guys like Quinn Hughes coming off that game where he was ejected, he'll be motivated in this game. Elias Pettersson is playing extremely well right now. The penalty kill has done well, but the power play has really stepped up. Where I'm going with this, Carm, is that I think this is the game that we see kind of the floodgates open up for the Boston Bruins since their coach firing. You're playing a 1-0 game. You're playing a 2-1 game. It's great. Everyone's buying in. But can you keep that 95% effort level on defense for the third game after your coach is fired? I'm not sure it's going to be there. And I think Vancouver, coming off the game, they're coming off of a very emotional game against the Ottawa Senators. Although they came out on top in that one, I think this game sees goals. This is a 5.5. I'm jumping all over. I've had success finding these 5.5s to look towards the over with the Boston Bruins this season. And I know it's a little bit of a contrarian play because both Korpisalo and Swayman are coming off good efforts in goal for them. But after I saw them just have a combined, 3 goals in their last 2 games, and they still won both those games, I think things break tonight in this one at TD Garden. Give me the over 5.5 in this one. I definitely think it's a good bet. And if you like the Vancouver Canucks, it's a pretty good price. But again, they've been doing a lot better on the road. So you can take that team total over 2.5, and it's at a -120 price. Just throwing that out there. But Carm, contrarian, I'm not sure if it is or not, but I do think that this Boston Bruins team is probably due for their first higher scoring game since the coaching firing. What do you think?
Yeah, they definitely responded. I'm going to take everything as far as the Boston Bruins go with a grain of salt. They beat a Utah team that was struggling to score some goals. They beat a Detroit Red Wings team, same thing, that has been playing some defense first uh, hockey just to try and get some wins together. And, we saw the same thing with Detroit last night against the New York Islanders. Focus on defense and take your chances while you can. I got to see them try that in Toronto. Didn't work in Toronto on that Friday night that I was at the game. This will be a test for the Bruins because this Vancouver team. I talked about this Vancouver team before they went into Ottawa for the first of a 6-game road trip, and I gave them out at plus money in Ottawa, and they got the win there 4-3 in that one. They were coming off 2 games in which they played extremely well at home against Nashville and the New York Rangers, but ended up on the wrong end of them, 5-3 and 4-3, scoring goals. And you look at some of the post-game analytics, and they probably deserved a little bit better. But the game against the Rangers was a coin flip that was decided late in the third period. And you could tell that better things are ahead for this Vancouver team. So they hit the road. They're 7-1 on the road this season. They lost in Tampa their first game of the season back on the 15th of October. Since then, 7 straight wins on the road for this Vancouver team. And sometimes that takes on a life of its own. You get away from home, you play well on the road, and the wins start to pile up, and then you head home and hope that starts to translate into home wins. I'm not sold on Swayman yet. He got his bag of money. He got the win last time out against Detroit, but on as a whole, as a collective, on the whole season, he has not been good. And you would expect that a guy who missed training camp and came on late after signing that contract, it may take there's an adjustment period for it. But I need to see him string 3, 4, 5 of these solid performances together and not just make 19 saves on 20 shots and think that he is the Swayman of old. So with that said, I'm taking the plus money. It's small plus money on the Vancouver Canucks, but I'm taking them at plus 102 right now, and two of the sharper books out there have a lower price on the Boston Bruins. If you like the Boston Bruins, two of the sharper books out there. It just seems like a fishy line to me that they're trying to invite Bruins money on a 2-game win streak. I'm taking the Canucks plus 102 tonight, Andrew.
Carm, it's funny because I find that for some teams, I haven't cared about home ice or road games in a long, long time. And I talked about it actually a lot throughout the summer. In baseball, I talked about it with my CFL handicapping. But this year in particular, with the NHL, there's actually been some teams where it does matter more than others. And I think obviously this one sticks out like a sore thumb. And of course, just like every streak, you want to try and get into it at the beginning and not near the end. But, there's sometimes that pressure, the Canadian market pressure, that maybe it's just the games that they've had to play. Maybe they've had tougher games at home and tougher matchups at home. We're not sure exactly what's been causing it, but and from a betting perspective, we're talking plus or minus units. A lot of the time, these teams, you're getting better prices on them on the road. Brian Leonard last year in the playoffs, he always talks about he prefers to bet on the road team because they still, in this day, they still give more credit to the home team with the odds and the home ice advantage. So you can definitely create value with them. Carm, obviously I gave my spiel about liking the over. And, I don't need a total opinion from you, but I'm curious what you think about this. Like, obviously you said you like the dog, and I'm happy to hear that because I think the dog means goals here. But is it sustainable for a team to be able to play defense like this and goaltending? I don't think it is, which is one of the reasons I love this over, is that I don't think that they can sustain just after firing their coach back to back and then back again, low scoring efforts. And again, you got a Vancouver team that's scoring right now, playing on the road, or a fast team. I think that the Boston Bruins have to show their coach, their interim coach now, hey, we can win games without scoring 1 or 2 goals, because although they got the W, it's still not that impressive. Like, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, are you walking around your house saying that we're back? I don't think you are back. That's the only issue here with this Bruins team.
It's Andrew. It's a weird game. I mean, and the Bruins could prove me wrong tonight. It wouldn't be the first time. You can say that they look like sort of the Bruins of old that play defense, but I think I'm taking it, like I said, with a grain of salt, just because of the two teams that they've played. Utah team that has struggled to score goals, had a great start to the season, but has tailed off. And then you have also a Detroit team that was in some very high scoring games early on, but they're trying to commit to defense, and I'm not sure if it's going to work with this Detroit team. But if it's going to get them wins, it's what they're going to have to do. This is a different type of team that's coming in tonight. This Vancouver team that can roll out some lines that can score. You look at, like I mentioned, in this 7-1 run on the road to start the season. They're in the 7 games, this is 7-game win streak after dropping the first one. They've scored 28 goals. They're averaging 4 goals a game. The other teams that they've played haven't averaged that. So we'll see what we get from Vancouver tonight. But it's hard to fault a team that is playing well. Whenever I see a team and they've lost a couple of games and they looked better than they did in those games, I like to take them at plus money, and I did against Ottawa. And I'm willing to double up here. The Garden is a tough place to go to try and get a win. It always has been. But this isn't the Bruins of last year. This isn't the Bruins of 2 years ago, in which they won the President's Trophy with that unbelievable season that they had. So is coaching the issue there? I don't think it was, but I think just the Bruins were underperforming. We will see. Let's give this a 10-game sample size for the Bruins instead of a 2-game sample size, where they've got to play some better teams moving forward, and we'll see if the Bruins are back or not. Right now, I'm not sold on it. I'm not going to go on a 2-game win streak and say, hey, the Bruins are back. Let's all jump on board at minus 118, when a true line was probably about 140, 145 if they weren't losing games by the handful. So with that said, Andrew, we should see some goals tonight. I agree with you on that. I'm not going to get to the window on the total because I'd be perfectly happy with a 3-1 Vancouver win, and that's why.
Sorry, I was just saying you can't be perfectly happy with it going under if I've got the over. How would that make you perfectly happy? Come on now. We got to both be winners. We got to both get the wins, Carm. But Carm likes the dog here, and I like the over in this opening game. Shout out to all of you guys in the live chat right now on YouTube, on Shorts, on IG. All of you guys tuning in. Only 2 games, but we appreciate the love. And hey, 2 games, but hopefully 2 games we can make some money off. And I think we got some ideas here. We got some good bets that we like here tonight. Carm, my Canadiens are in action 4 times this week. And yes, I did say my Canadiens. They're playing tonight and then tomorrow. And they play Saturday and Sunday. So they have 2 pairs of back-to-backs going on here against the Blue Jackets, Utah Hockey Club, Rangers, and Boston Bruins. It starts tonight for them against Utah. And you just talked about with Utah, not being the most exciting team by any means. And if anything, they're a better team at home versus on the road. But one thing about this Utah team, they've coming off 2 losses, but both losses aren't really embarrassing losses. They're not tough losses by any means. They're just losses against the Boston Bruins and against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So what are your thoughts, Carm, before I give you my thoughts on the Montreal Canadiens here?
Well, my thoughts is you should never mute yourself, Andrew. You got such a great voice. You should always stay unmuted. But here's the thing. It'll be interesting because I talked about goalie sort of dependent plays at times, and I talked about I like the over in the Carolina game. Didn't matter to me who the goalies were yesterday. That one shot over. I like the under in the Tampa Bay game, but I wanted Georgiev in goal along with Vasilevsky, and then they changed it from Georgiev to Annunen, and he got lit up by Tampa Bay. That under was dead before he even got there. But you look at this one, and Ingram's back in Utah. He's their number 1 goalie. He's back in Utah getting checked out. So it's Vamelka and Stauber who they called up from Tucson. It remains to be seen who's going to start in this game for Utah. But right now it's showing Stauber could be the starting goalie. Montembeault, Montreal first of a back-to-back, as you talked about. So it's likely going to be Montembeault and then Caden Primo tomorrow. Utah needs a win, Andrew. I'm not sure if they get it here, but Sunday was a terrible day for Utah. They only lose to the Leafs 3-2. But here's what happened to Utah. If you guys are unaware of it, the team had to walk to the arena from pretty much from their bus that was stuck in traffic because the Santa Claus parade was going on in Toronto and had just finished prior to game time, and everyone leaving from the parking lots absolutely clogged the downtown artery of Toronto. If it isn't bad enough as it is already, it was even worse. And there's like TikTok videos and Instagram videos that you'll see of the Utah players filming themselves walking under the highway underpass, the Gardner Expressway, under the highway to get to the stadium to play hockey. That's got to unnerve you a little bit. There's no Santa Claus played in Montreal tonight, Andrew, not that I know of for the Canadiens. Utah's minus 135 here. I think the price is a little high here. I was looking at the first period for Utah and I couldn't get there, but I think we're going to see some goals in that first period, especially if it's Stauber in goal. Even though he's been pretty good in the for Tucson in the 7 or 8 games that he's played for them thus far. I think his goals against average is like 230 or less. But I'm going to ride the wave of goals that we saw yesterday in the NHL. and see if it carries over to today. And I'm going to take the over first period 1.5 in this one, and then I'll let up. I'm one and done. Watch the first period, and I don't have to watch any more of this game. I'll switch it back to the Vancouver game and enjoy that one instead.
Let's go, Carm. The 20-minute thrill, the 20-minute rush, and those first period bets have been going well right now. And I think some of these games where the first period's cashing, and then what do we always talk about, Carm? The dreaded 4-1 lead. Some of these leads where you just see a bunch of goals, but you don't see any more scoring in the third period. So, hey, it's better off taking the goals early on than later on into the game a little bit here. But look, a lot of times you see the teams that are on the road, right? And you could try and find these motivated spots. But again, I think that for a team like Utah, it's kind of frustrating for them right now because it's not like they've been getting embarrassed. It's not like they've had tough losses. They're just losing. They're losing in, very, very competitive fashion. Their game against the Boston Bruins, very, very competitive, very low scoring, good goaltending, good defense. And despite having to walk to the arena, as you mentioned, Carm, this Utah team, very competitive in their game against Toronto. But look, I know I don't talk about the Habs very often. And when I do, a lot of times I am mentioning certain things about them that I've noticed. But this is one thing I've noticed here about this team. Number one, they're not going to win many games unless they score the first goal. But number two, when they win games, they often win the first period. So if you're betting the Montreal Canadiens, you might as well bet the first period and you might as well bet the full game here. But I got a few examples, if we could pull on the screen, Dan, for this team. I think it's really interesting. Certain teams like the Montreal Canadiens, when they get embarrassed, you really want to take notice. And you take a look at that game against St. Louis for the Montreal Canadiens. They were coming off an embarrassing performance. They were coming off a game where they got blown out. They put up 3 goals in the first period, ended with 5 goals in the full game. You take a look at their game against Philadelphia. Again, another one where they were coming off a game where they got completely embarrassed. 4 goals in the full game and 2 goals in the first period. And same thing against Buffalo. You look at that one, they lost 4-1 against Toronto, a divisional rivalry. They hate losing against Toronto. They follow that up with 3 goals in the first period, 7 goals in the full game. And this one's interesting as well for Columbus. Again, the game against Columbus. Montreal was shut out against the Minnesota Wild, and they followed that up by beating the Columbus Blue Jackets in a big way by putting 5 goals up in the full game, winning the first period 1-0. And of course, just recently, last week, against the Edmonton Oilers, they win the first period by scoring 2 goals, and they put up 3 goals to win the full game and winning in shutout fashion. Guys, these young teams, they struggle to put together an 82-game season effort. They struggle to put together 41 good home games. But there's certain spots that certain teams like this really show up. And when the Montreal Canadiens lost 7-2 against the Rangers, they won 5-2 against the St. Louis Blues. When they lost against the Wild, they bounced back. When they lost against the Kraken, they bounced back. What I'm trying to say here is they had a very embarrassing second period against the Golden Knights. They gave up 3 goals in 1 minute and 20 seconds, Carm. They gave up 5 goals in the second period. So I don't know how well they're going to do tomorrow. I don't know how well they're going to do on Saturday. I don't know how well they're going to do on Sunday. But I do think we get a good effort out of a very embarrassed Montreal Canadiens team tonight. So, and this is just pure data. This is me looking at this team, and it's hard to find good things to say about the Montreal Canadiens lately, Carm. And I can't make that up. I can't make these numbers up. But when this team feels embarrassed, they typically have a pretty good outing the next game. So that might have been a mixed bag. That might have been all over the place. Trying to remember things without looking at my notes, which I should probably just go ahead and look at some things I have written down. But the fact is, when this team is coming off a game where they feel like they got exposed, they usually come out strong the next game. So I do like them in the first period, but it also means if I like them in the first period, I like that full game as well. This team has not won a game this season where they haven't scored the first goal, and 5 of their 7 wins this season, they've won the first period on that 3-way betting line, Carm. So just a couple thoughts there, and maybe I'll get your thoughts about these young teams, Carm, because these young teams, whether it's the Canadiens or whoever it may be, they don't like to get embarrassed. They struggle with consistency, but I thought that was pretty interesting. When they lose 7-2 against the Rangers a couple weeks ago, they bounced back against the Blues, and a lot of these games they've really responded well after being embarrassed.
Yeah, it's tough, Andrew, because a lot of these teams and the ones that are going to finish in the bottom 3 in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference as well are teams that just don't have the player depth. You can't roll out the line, so you can't expect the top 2 lines to carry you each and every night. So you're going to be consistent throughout the year. You're going to lose more games than you win. And that's an issue with the Montreal Canadiens. By the way, did you notice the Montreal Canadiens have 5 letters on the side of their helmets? FBOBC. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, FSOBC on it. I tried to figure it out, kind of like when you're at the lights and the car has a vanity plate in front of you, and you're trying to figure out what the hell it says. I finally figured it out.
Where is this?
FSOBC
Is this going to
stands
be?
for free
Are you
space
coming after
on
the
bingo
Habs?
card.
I
Free
knew it.
space
I knew
on
it.
bingo card. That is
I
what they
knew
have
it.
on the side of their helmets. That's it. Get your dabbers out tonight, boys. We are dabbing the free space on the bingo card for Andrew. But with that said, hopefully I didn't rattle you before you give us some prop winners. So give us a couple prop bet winners for tonight.
I like it, Carm. I like the chirps. I knew that was going somewhere. I knew you were coming somewhere after me with that one. All right, let's jump into the first prop that we have here. And this one is solely based on matchups. We're going to look at a player prop here with Jake DeBrusk to record a point. First of all, he got his first point, first goal a handful of games ago for the Vancouver Canucks. He's got a point in a handful of games now for the Vancouver Canucks, and he's playing his old team. This is a guy that requested a trade not once, but twice from the Boston Bruins. They held on to him. And I'll tell you what, this team could use him right now. And there's no better way to get revenge on the team that didn't treat you properly, didn't give you the respect you deserve, than to go out there and have a good game against them. There will probably be a video tribute to him. A lot of the Bruins fans really liked Jake DeBrusk. And, this happens at hockey all the time. A former player on a team goes back to the arena where he played most of his career so far and has a great night. I'm not betting the goal prop, but I'm betting the point prop for Jake DeBrusk at -110. I gotta love that price. All right, the next one, yes, we're going back to the Canadiens and the Utah matchup here. Gonna take Kirby Dach over 1.5 shots on goal. This one's really interesting, guys. He has been demoted big time. Apparently, he's going to start the game on the 4th line. Him and Juraj Slafkovsky have not been playing well. Right now, Kirby Dach is the team worst -15 plus-minus on the season. Not good right now. There's a reason why his number is 1.5 for his shots on goal prop. I looked at all the quotes. I watched the videos after the last game against Vegas. He wasn't happy. He was, in fact, embarrassed, ashamed of himself. And despite coming off an injury, this is not the player that he knows himself to be. 3 of his last 4 games, he's hit this. 4 of his last 5 games at home, he's hit this. And let's not forget, this Utah team ranks number 28 in the league as far as shots on goal allowed against the center position. Over 1.5 shots on goal for hopefully a very motivated Kirby Dach. Carm, just 2 props for me. And hopefully we have success tonight.
I hope so. It's a slim card, so we are going to tie this one up in a bow and get ready for Wednesday show where we have a full slate of cards, a full slate of games. And I know Dan Alexander wants us to end this show as quick as possible, so you can get a half-hour sleep in before the WagerTalk Today show. But with that said, Andrew, Champions League today. I got a couple plays up. Those games go this afternoon at 3 o'clock. One play up right now in the NHL. You can get that up as well too. And my $5 play is a play for Wednesday in the NHL. It is a 5% play. You can get that for only $5 up until midnight. Then it goes back to the regular pricing. And of course, who can forget the Thanksgiving Day promo that is going on? $69 for a 7-day all access package. There's just a ton of sports each and every day, be it NHL, college football, college basketball, NFL, soccer, European soccer. There's a ton of action up. Take advantage of that. No coupon needed, $69. It is probably one of our most popular promotions we have at WagerTalk, the $69 7-day all access package. Take advantage of that. Andrew, my free play, I'm going to go back to that very first game. I'm going to keep it simple. I like the Vancouver Canucks. I like that little bit of plus money, and I'm going to take them plus 102 on the Vancouver Canucks tonight. I think that plus 102 is probably going to disappear. They'll probably be at even money if they're not already. But I'll ride the Canucks tonight and see if they can make it 8 straight wins on the road. What do you have up at Wager Talk? Give us a show free play and close us out.
Carm, my $5 play is going to be actually an NFL play for Thanksgiving. So looking forward to that. It's going to be an NFL player prop after we cashed a winner yesterday. Been very, very low volume with NFL this season, but hopefully picking some really good spots. And I really, really like the play I have set up for this week on Turkey Day. My play is going to be the Montreal Canadiens. Yes, Carm, what you call the free space on the bingo card hopefully is not a free space tonight. I just love the aspect around this team and what they do after games where they have been absolutely blown out. You know, the quotes were disastrous after the game. Players felt ashamed. They felt embarrassed. They felt like they gave the game away in 3.5 minutes when they gave up 5 goals in one period, 3 goals in a minute and a half. This Canadiens team will be very motivated tonight. I expect goals for both teams, but I expect this Canadiens team to come out on top in this one. Plus 110, Montreal Canadiens underdog here tonight in the NHL. Just 2 games here tonight, guys, but a ton of games. 15 games on Wednesday. Look forward to breaking those games down with you right here on Puck Time. Don't forget to grab Carmine's 5% NHL for just $5. But for now, guys, that's it for Puck Time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on WagerTalk TV.